Hello, and we are live. So, thank you so much for joining us today on this first ever episode of Fast Forward. Joining us today, we've got Vinay, and Vinay is the head of digital marketing at Digicom, and he specializes in marketing automation, ABM, consumer psychology, sales strategies. And I've got Vinay here for a specific reason. So, we are doing this episode around the holiday season, and holiday season is peaking. So, we kind of wanted to talk about how we can leverage marketing to drive more revenue for e-commerce brands. And yeah, so thank you so much, Vinay. Thank you for joining us on our first ever episode. So I'm kind of anxious and at the same time excited to be here because this is my first ever podcast, and I'm super happy that you agreed to do this with us. And so thank you so much again.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be on this. This is really that part of the year where a lot of brands go gaga and a lot of brands go boo boo because of you know not being able to leverage this period. So I'm super excited to talk about how we can kind of enhance that for all the brands.
Yeah. So I mean, see, this time of the year around the world is the beginning of the holiday season, right? So you've got
Right.
Diwali popping up in India, then the Halloween, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then followed by Christmas and Thanksgiving and whatnot in the US.
Hmm.
So this is the time where brands gear up for the holiday season marketing, and so that's from the brand's perspective. But from a consumer's perspective, if you look at it, this is when consumers start getting bombarded with too many emails, SMSs, WhatsApp messages, and even ads from hundreds of brands on a daily basis. And so it's
Right.
just an overload of information for them at this point. But as a brand, how do you stand out of those hundreds of messages? How do you be that one email that gets opened, or that one message that gets responded to, or even that one ad that gets clicked on? So that's always a challenge for brands. And how does a brand kind of wade through this challenge? And because this is a very crucial period when you look at it, and all the effort
Hmm.
that they're putting in throughout the year, it has to pay off right now.
Right. Right. Um, So there's obviously no silver bullet, right? Probably around this time you'll see a bombardment of here's a cool hack how you can do this. Here's a cool trick to like 10x your revenue in the holiday period. It's essentially a mix of a few core components, and there are weightages to it. You can probably give it some sort of weight in that 100% of effort. Number one is your offer. And this is either within your marketing strategy or even within just if you're talking about emails and SMS. What is your offer? And the other
Mm,
part is the technical stuff. Getting deliverability. Can I ensure that my emails are landing in their inbox so that they can really look at it? um, Discounts, all of that stuff is like the second part of it. If you get the offer right, everything else could be average. Your copywriting skills, your subject lines, those could be fairly average, and you would get better results. If your offer sucks and everything else is pro, you get the best email copywriters, you get the best tech guys to make sure that you're getting like a 200% delivery of your emails and SMS, it would still not work. So that's what everybody should just take a step back and start looking at. Another dimension that gets added is how we treat customers. And when I say how we treat, is first based on how you're segmenting people, because you would talk
mm,
very differently to the person who's engaged with your brand, who's probably a customer,
yes. Yeah.
who's like a loyal customer, right? Versus somebody who just saw an
Yes.
ad or maybe just discovered your brand, probably signed up for that welcome 10 on your website, and is now lying dormant in your email list, hasn't done anything, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that approach of where you're just trying to talk to everybody at the same time, saying, "Hey, here's a sale, here's an offer, here's what you got to do." That's when things start getting muddy, both in terms of performance, but also in terms of tracking where your best effort is going, what's working, what's not working. And
Yeah.
yeah, we can break those down and discuss about that. But I think that's the most important one.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you spoke about the offer first, because when you talk about offer or the offering, one common mistake that I've noticed brands do is go heavy on discounts. And
Hmm.
so discounts might look like a good option, but in reality, you're losing money that could have actually been yours, right? And
Yeah.
that's where segmentation comes in. You kind of need to know who should receive the discount, who should not receive the discount, and who is ready to pay full price. So it makes
Right.
sense. And I don't know, for some reason I feel discount campaigns should kind of be the last one on your item, because there are literally so many other things that you could do before just concluding with a plain discount campaign. So there's one brand, a very popular brand, that just sends like seven discount campaigns in one single day. I'm not even kidding. I can open my inbox, and
Yeah.
every single day I get seven different emails, like 80% off on this category, 70% off on this category, 60% off on.
Right.
So I'll have like different offers on different categories, and it never works. So I mean, when you're looking at marketing from a messaging perspective, yes, this is good. But how about from a conversion angle? So like stores need to prep their websites, and like what needs to change from from a conversion angle just for the holiday season.
Right. um the sooner you start, the better, because when you're relying on something like an email list or an SML list, any database, you've essentially, that database has not been generated from within an email or an SMS platform. It has come from either a Google or a Facebook or any other platform, right? And the quality of that lead or that contact in your email list it's kind of a good sign of where your conversion rates will lie, right? um,
Mm,
I've seen countless brands, when we start auditing somebody's account, we are seeing that people are running, let's say, a traffic campaign, and I'm not against a traffic campaign, but I'm also trying to look at how all these machine learnings, and probably digressing from the main topic just for a while, but it's also important to understand that any machine learning platform, Facebook, now Meta, Google, TikTok, everybody's learning, utilizing that algorithm, that machine learning capability, and the amount of data points that that machine can look at while putting your ad out in that auction is never humanly possible for anybody. You can't look at millions of data points
yeah.
and make a decision, but the machine can. So that's for the benefit. But when you use it in an incorrect way, we've seen that it's also kind of becoming quite literal, that if you choose a traffic campaign, I remember in 2016, 17, even 18, you would still get sales while running traffic campaign, right? And very, very few people right now would probably be getting that because of who you are targeting. But if you don't choose
Yeah.
a purchase, you don't get a purchase, right? That's how it is. If you're looking for leads, how do you think it's so fine refined that the moment you switch an objective to an engagement, you start seeing people just
Mm,
commenting, liking your post, but then you switch the objective to, let's say, video views, then those don't increase, but your video views increase, because the machine learning and the system is designed in a way to deliver that, but it's not
mhm,
essentially now promising you to deliver the end result. So when we're looking at these accounts and we figure out that, let's say, within the last 1 year, the brand has spent maybe $1 million, and out of those million, about 600,000 and gone toward traffic, because they're trying to prospect. The leads that are in the email, they barely convert, because the quality
mm,
of those leads are not from those purchase segments or your ideal audience. You said, Facebook, give me traffic. That is what it gave you, right? You didn't ask for a conversion, so you don't get it. And that's how crude the machine learning is really getting. The second part is, obviously, a lot of brands keep collecting these emails. I would say 8 out of 10 brands never clean up their databases. There's no cleanup happening. Um we i i, I think we recently audited a brand which had about um 50 60,000 odd contacts in their email list. I think about 45% were dormant contacts. They weren't opening emails. Half
all
of
right.
the emails were bouncing, right?
Yeah.
And they are sending out an email almost every second day to everyone in their customer base. Their deliverability rates suck, right? because these are
Yeah,
not the contacts that really love your brand.
the hygiene of the
Right.
list is kind of an indicator of how much effort that you should be putting into refining and segmenting your audience, and so that translates
Exactly.
into a greater outcome as you consistently run targeted campaigns.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that, especially for emails and now even for SMS and WhatsApp, your reputation as a seller, as a person who's sending out message, is being audited or looked at by all the email providers, all the any delivery provider. They are looking at what's your deliverability ratio, how many people are really opening that email, how many people are marking spam. So if you have 45,000 people in a 60,000 list, that are half of the emails are not getting delivered and the other half is not even trying to open, and then there are lots of unsubscription, that's saying, hey, this guy is just spamming us, or this is not the right kind of message I'd like to receive. And then your deliverabilities go for a toss, even if you're writing the right kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And that's so critical that it's hard to believe that a lot of brands don't do that.
I mean, during our onboarding with Forward, the first step that we do is clean their list. So that we keep the right from day one. We want to make sure that their deliverability is not compromised, and they so the chances of them hitting the primary inbox goes up. So if you're consistently sending good quality emails, you're going to get bumped into the primary inbox. And so
Right.
one of the first few protocols that we implement is list hygiene.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. That's the first step. I don't know whether why it's not so obvious, but absolutely, that's the first step. um, and that kind of leans into the segmentation part that we initially spoke, that now that you have a list and you've done your homework, you've removed the people that don't belong to your list. Then you move people who are based on their either frequency or recency or the amount of value that they've spent with you as a consumer, and bucket them into these high value frequent purchasers. There could be a second bucket which is high value, but they're not frequent purchasers, right? Then
Yes.
there are people who only buy during sales, and this is so easy to do within platform like yours, like Forward, an email marketing platform, that you can just do this is more or less like a one time activity, and you make that effort, clean this up, segment your users, and now you have to speak differently to these people. The person who's buying from you probably every month, every 2 months, putting in so much money behind the brand, that's the customer that it kind of binds into that 80/20 rule, where 80% of all the return that you get is from 20% of your customers. Look at those 20% of your customers, treat them well.
When you look at it, not everybody is going to resonate well with the same kind of messaging. And so I'm a huge fan of Pareto principle, and I get excited when it's quoted. 80/20 rule is quoted, and I'd all
Right.
jump in agreement in any time it's quoted. But yeah, it's true. So 80% of your revenue is from 20% of your audience, and those 20% deserves to be treated in a certain way. Whereas you still have a nice 80% waiting to be bumped up to the top 20%, and just nurture them. You got to nurture them. So
Right.
pick your
Right.
pick your audience on the right side. So that's the
Right.
way to go. uh, how does a brand actually truly leverage the omni-channel capability in a non-invasive way to get the ideal
Hmm.
outcome?
Right.
From your
Right.
experience, I mean, you would have.
um
I'm sure you've worked with brands, right? So I just want to understand,
right.
because the kind of brands they work with, they want to go all out on all channels. So this one brand wanted to do an email blast, the same content on WhatsApp and same content with a link on SMS as well. So, but
Right.
is sometimes it works, sometimes it's not the right way to go.
One thing that everybody should spend a lot of time as a brand, um, is what are they selling. A lot of times you start a brand, you know what you're selling, and then very quickly, when you're at a point where you're doing stable sales, you're acquiring customers decently, you're growing at a growth rate, good growth rate, and you forget about what you're selling. Now I'll give you an example. A clothing store has a different buying frequency and a customer need than somebody who's probably selling, let's say, a mobile phone, right? Now, As a
Yeah.
consumer, you don't buy mobile phones every month, you don't buy them every week, you
Mm.
don't buy them every day, right? But a clothing customer, and especially those 20% of the lot in a clothing customer database, are people who are at least buying 2 to 3 times a month. So if you see in your inbox, you would see an email every day from a clothing brand about a new category, some discounts, some sales, whatever. And just by looking at that, you as a brand, should not go back and say, hey, I want to punch out one email every day, right?
Mm.
Just because they are doing it, without looking back at what you're selling. There has to be some
Mm.
sort of context and that's a part of understanding. It's very psychological and it's deep, but that's how you're making people feel that you understand them, right? By sending an email of for buying a product that you would buy probably once or twice a year, you are telling that customer that, dude, I don't give a damn about you. I don't understand you. Bye. Right? You're seeing those emails every day, and then your
Yeah, yeah,
brain
yeah,
shuts off. You don't even see that if it's in front of you, right? Understand your product, and then the frequency of that communication or what you're talking about has to be tied it to your brand. Do not run in that same race of sending one email out every day. It you don't need that. Right.
Mhm.
If you are a product that people would probably buy every week, like, you know grocery stores, anything that's staple, anything that is being bought every 15 days, you can do a lot there. But with these
Yes.
opportunities where you're buying something that is not bought very frequently, then it's more about, first, how do you create that context when you're speaking to that customer, right? And like you said, nurture is such a huge part, um, that
Yeah.
if you know that people are probably going to come back in an year's time, maybe you
Mm.
also have some complementary products that go with the main product. You can build that up,
Yeah.
helpful articles. And again, I'm not a big fan of nurturing just for the sake of it. So if somebody's probably in your mobile phone segment, then every day you're sending one blog which is like how to speed up your phone, second day 10 best apps for your phones.
Yeah.
We are drowning in content
That's
right
very
now, right?
so for, and it doesn't work for mobile phones. So what you can probably do a couple of cross sell campaigns. You can sell them if somebody's purchased an iPhone, you can sell them AirPods, you can sell them some cases, or even some even like some skins or something. But when you think about it from a skincare brand for that perspective, so a
Yeah.
skincare brand can have a really nice post purchase nurturing flow. So let's say you
Yeah.
buy a sunscreen moisturizer for that matter, and 1 week later you get instructions on how to use it, or you get
Right.
recommendations on products that go well with that, and like a couple of days later you get another message, and so
Right.
that you get like instructions, and you have a feedback flow. You can also like leverage that to
Yeah.
get reviews, and then the
Yeah.
replenishment flow kicks in. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
when it's a perishable or a consumable, you also have the option to kick in a replenishment flow where so the product will not last for more than 30 days if used right, and
Right.
so you
Right.
you get to educate them on using it right, and right when you're at the end of your educational campaign, you kickstart your replenishment flow so that they
Right.
restock the product. So yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a
And
very fine line. It works, as you rightly said, it works for certain industries, doesn't work for certain industries, and if done in certain
yeah.
industries, it is an amazing and a really helpful flow. But when it's done in the wrong industry, it just, as you said, banner blindness.
Right. Right. It's so important, that part where you talked about, you know, post purchase flows, and only in the context of skincare because you just bought it. I've worked with a lot of skincare brands. It's a different space altogether. And again, it's surprising to see that, somebody who's starting or is running a skincare brand, and I can categorically, trustfully say that a lot of them still struggle with customer acquisition. And here's the
Mm.
reason why. And I'm not saying that's the absolute reason, but that's one of the largest reasons. It's not high CPAs, right? Everybody talks about, oh,
Mm.
CPMs in skincare are so high. I'm barely able to get any clicks for the budget that I'm spending. That is a case, but the larger problem to that is the way you pointed out that somebody buys the product, they get information about how they can best use the product. You can ask for reviews, you can share FAQs. I'd also want to amp that up and rather use it
Mm.
before they buy, and I'll tell you why. Skincare is one
Okay.
space where every time you see a new product, and no matter how good the branding is, no matter how good the product is, the way you've presented it, if it doesn't have trust right now, everybody who's using a skincare product, you don't want to pick up anything. For boys, maybe, yep, I can still just pick up anything on my wife's shelves and put it on my face. Anybody who's like the ideal customer, they don't want to put anything on their skin right away if they don't know whether it'll work, or rather, it's not even about whether it'll work, whether it'll ruin something. It'll probably cause something else, right? I'm working with a bunch of skincare clients, and what I love to do is go back. Let's say I'll go to Amazon, I pick up 10 competitor products that are on like the top in the search, then also pick up a few that are bottom of the search. I'll export all the reviews out, whether it's 1 star, 2, 3, 4, 5, run an analysis, and it's the most important feedback that you will collect. Not only will you be able to utilize that for your subject lines, your ad campaigns, your headlines, your copy, because now whatever you're
Mm.
writing is based off first the data that customers are posting, right? You also trying
The
to
pain
emulate
points.
the language in with their talking, exactly. So if I had to
Yeah.
stand out within the first 10 bestsellers, and I categorically figured out that almost 40% of the people are talking about a bad metallic smell in an XYZ product,
Yeah.
my product itself, probably within the title and the first few lines of descriptions, will say
Yeah.
that it smells beautiful, citrusy, without any chemical, blah blah blah, right? That's differentiation, because now you are trying to talk in the language of the customer, but you're also making that effort to make them understand that you understand them, right?
You
Yeah,
just gave out a hack
that's
for a swipe file that generates hundreds of campaign ideas, hundreds of email subject lines and message texts, and that's the power of UGC. So like your that is
absolutely.
the message that resonates with you. So you're targeting the people who've given that content, and so it's their
Yeah,
words, and you're understanding that and trying to address that. So
yeah,
yeah, and so I kind of wanted to touch upon UGC as well, leveraging reviews and everything. So I think you
yeah.
you went one step beyond that. So I was thinking about using reviews in your campaigns, using reviews in your messaging, but now like using reviews as a data source, that is something that's truly fascinating.
Another value bomb that I'll drop while we are in the talks here is there's all this talk about creative testing, and what should I say in my email, subject lines, what will get me more open rates, why aren't enough people buying, right? So the problem, you take a step back and you're trying to understand why people buy your particular product, and that's like a very high level question, and you have to dig down. So there's this one project that we worked on, and all the content, all the marketing content that was being created was being created for, so this product essentially had like three different use case scenarios, right? And the use case for which the product, like 90% of the content was being built, it wasn't getting that sort of response. When we did the analysis from the customer reviews, nothing else, the usage scenario for that particular use case was less than 5%, right? So so when you look at the product, and then we also unlocked why were a larger chunk, so about 45% of the people were using
Mm.
that product as a gifting product that the
Okay.
brand never thought about, that nobody thought
Mhm.
about. And that is when the entire team, for a month, we tried to push them to create content which is more gift oriented. Like, how do we use the
Mhm.
product as a gift, right? Because now within your total audience, you were only trying to speak to that 5%, and you were
Mhm.
wondering why there aren't enough people who are trying to buy. And then you're looking at ads, you're blaming ads, you're blaming the platform, you're blaming emails not getting delivered. You're not talking to the right people, or you're talking to the people that are very few. Why don't you look at the larger segment, right? And nothing else changed. The email frequencies were the same, the ads just, they were now talking more about gifts and gifting. that did the trick. So I can't emphasize the importance of knowing your market,
Mm,
why they're buying, why they are using your product, right? And then what are they complaining when it comes to your competitor products? Use them to your advantage,
mm,
right? I would also go as far as, if you're trying to build out a product and you think the market is too saturated, like, every product that I think a product is already there,
mm,
pick a product that's doing wonderfully well but has a very, very crude problem. Like, look, do this analysis,
mm,
find the problem, solve that problem,
mm.
make it a better product. It's a world where a lot of things have been already made, tried, created, invented.
Yeah.
It's more about how can you make it better by listening to people who are experiencing that
Yes.
gap in the product usage.
Yeah. So even if you improve by 1%, that makes a huge difference in the long run, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we've been talking a lot about marketing, emails, segmentation campaigns. So let's take a quick break and kind of so I've been handed a bunch of questions that not a bunch, maybe a few questions that uh, we kind of want to ask you. So
Hmm.
just off the top of your head, just answer the first thing that comes to your mind. Um,
Hmm.
shall we get going?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So this is all right. So what is the one book that changed your perspective on marketing?
uh, it was .com Secrets
Dot-com secrets.
by Russell Brunson.
Mhm,
One of the few I ordered, like, it was called a black box then. It had three books and a bunch of stuff. um, I had read a lot of books before that. That was the one that kind of really helped absorb and understand and also give ideas to implement.
mhm.
um yeah, that was a book.
So I think for me, the first time I ever had. I mean, I'm not a marketing guy. I was never a marketing guy until I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago, when I had a marketing team that was working with me. So I kind of ventured, because Venkat, my co-founder, he's been my aide to com for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So I usually don't think about marketing, because I let him do the thinking about marketing and all those things. But so
Right.
there was a brief period where we both weren't working on the same thing, and then I had to work with a marketing team, and then I started experiencing the whole new world of acquisition, retention, top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, nurture, and all those things. So that's when I was introduced to the whole world of marketing. But
Yeah.
the one thing that so at that time, so there was this there was this I wouldn't, so I was working with a guy who introduced me to this video of Simon Sinek talking about the golden circle, and
Hmm.
where he talks about the power of why, right? So
Right.
so I mean, so the way he speaks about the way Apple markets themselves versus Dell marketing themselves, and so that kind of changed my perspective on like how marketing should be, and so
Right.
that was the starting point for me. All right, so the next one is, this is an interesting one. I kind of want to I personally kind of want to know this answer. So if you were to start an e-commerce brand today, what brand would you start, in which niche, and why specifically?
um i I honestly, there's no one stuff, because working with so many brands, like I said, there's no like one go to, one silver bullet thing. What I would say is something that has a fairly good average order value,
Mm,
right? um, that's kind of important now, especially when you're running into, if a large part of your customer acquisition is relying on paid marketing, which nobody can ignore now. You have to kind of maintain and think of those costs ahead of time.
mm,
If you can, then you can have enough wiggle room to test, grow, scale. Even if you're not profitable, you can still break even, but acquire customers to better your product and marketing and your business as whole. So I wouldn't say like put a finger on like an industry or a product, but definitely a high AOV product
yeah, are you abstaining?
and something.
Are you
Yeah.
abstaining your answer because you don't want to give out your favorite niche, given that you're working with brands from multiple niches?
Not really. I think I'm working on a very broad niche of customers.
Yeah.
One thing that I've realized is I'm a big fan of kind of niching down.
Mm,
So the more same kind of customer, like if it's skincare only or it's clothing only, it really helps you understand the market well for that particular audience, a particular segment. One thing that I would want to call out along with a high AOV product is, can the product really solve a problem,
mm.
right?
So it should answer the question, why do you exist?
Exactly. Like if it doesn't essentially do something for a customer,
Mm,
then either you change the product
yeah.
or then you change the brand's approach to sell it, right? If you want to sell something fancy and vanity at a high price, which doesn't do shit, then you have to work. You can still sell it, but then you can't market like any other D2C brand or a retail brand. You have to think like
Exactly.
a different luxury brand, trying to create that aspirational value, which is also a long-term game. It's a very expensive game to play. Um, and it's a really rewarding game to play. But then that's a different playing field, not going there.
So, speaking of like crazy marketing ideas, so I kind of wanted to check if there any crazy marketing idea that you thought, okay, I'm just gonna do it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it, to your surprise, it worked.
um I think crazy marketing idea, it was scarcity, and it's used in a very, let's say, an ineffective or like I never feel that. I don't feel that scarcity, right? So this is a true story. I'm working with one of these brands. I used to work with them back, I think, in 2017 18, and this was a small homegrown brand, trying to do D2C, that just a single product. um, I was flying back with the founder. So he was like, "Can we do something else? It's probably like I would really love an influx of, let's say, what if we had 4 to 5 lakh rupees more, right? And obviously, if we bump up the ad spend, then there's also diminishing returns. We will not make the equal ROI that we're making right now. So I before the plane takes off, I just open the laptop, open the email marketing tool, and he's sitting right next to me, and I just create a segment which was already there, but just kind of refining it further to the people who are buying from us every single month, preferably twice, with a high AOV. And the product within its category is actually priced like on the expensive spectrum, right? And it was a text email. Like, I 50% of the emails that ask our brands to send out are not those branded banner click
Nice.
buttons. It's text only, plain text. So the offer was that, hey guys, we are here. We were just thinking, we are a homegrown brand. We would like to, like, we are trying all of this for our new customers, and then we also have some extra stock lying around that we'd like to get rid of, because that we try to sell fresh. And this is fresh is a big thing around their business. So just for the next 2 hours, if you want to grab an X quantity, I'll give you this discount, right? We sent it out. The brand had about 25,000 customers at that time, email list. And then this segmented customer list, I think they just had 3,000 or some 3,000 people, close to 3,500 people. I shut down my laptop. We land in Delhi 2 hours later.
Wow, flies.
Um, I turn the airplane mode off. Shopify goes kaching, 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 all the
Yeah.
notifications up. We sold about, I think, two and a half, two lakh 70,000,
Oh,
something around that spot,
oh,
within just 2 hours, right? And we've never made that amount of money within like any other sale,
hmm.
right? So that was a cool test, and then we we did that a bunch of times to really see whether it was a fluke or whether that really works. And it works. So with urgency, when you're trying to run sales that are going like, and it works for a lot of brands, but I can categorically tell you that if you cut down your sales time to less than 24 hours, you will make far more sales that you would otherwise make on a week long. A lot of brands are running these for 3 days, 7 days, because they know by numbers that they are not going to make that. It's the confidence, right? It's more of a psychological game. You're giving them enough time, so by chance they remember and buy, and you send them enough bombardments of
Also,
emails and
obviously, it
SMS.
has something to do with the audience that you're targeting, right? You can't like send that to your entire email subscribe list and expect that to work.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But my question is, like instead of a discount campaign, so you know my take on
Hmm.
discounts. I've been very
Yeah,
vocal
yeah,
about it for
yeah.
a long time as well.
Right,
So, like,
right.
what else do you think would work in those situations? Like quick. Okay,
um
talking about quick money from a focus segment.
Yeah. You can give discounts, but as you said, that's the last thing. What you can do is inflate the value of the offer first. And by inflating, I'm saying if you had $1,000 product, you can give them, let's say, a 20% discount, and that's a no-brainer, but it's also not enticing enough, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You can actually give them like pump give them a pack of five,
Mm.
and then
Oh,
probably give them a 40% discount. And you would, as a business owner, you should know your numbers to do that math like that, because if you can't, then you are in the wrong business. So so that's really important. um
yeah.
Second part of the discount is, look at your stores, look at the products that have the most abandoned checkouts. If you have like five different products, one of them like really flies off, but then there's this other one where a lot of people add to cart, enter the details, but abandon checkouts. That's the one that you should also add to that bundle when you're inflating that perceived value.
Mhm.
So here's a product that you love, you can get this.
Yeah.
We are also willing to add this in, right?
Mhm.
That you were on the fence, or you added to cart, or you wish listed, or whatever. And then on top of that, use that opportunity to also pick out products that people don't even look at, right? And you've got some inventory lying in the background, or you feel that that product has never gotten enough exposure because of your main product.
Mhm.
Throw that in so that it also gets an opportunity to get visible.
Yeah.
So now, instead of sending out that one product that everybody buys, you've collected all of these, inflated the value of the offer,
Yeah.
and now if you want to give them a deal, don't give them a 10% deal, don't even give them a 20%. That sounds so obvious and cheap. I can't think of other word. If you have to give a discount and you have to make people just buy in frenzy, that should be enticing enough, right? You can't just give discounts. You have to increase the value that these guys will receive, and then give them that offer that they're like, I'm getting this, so the perceived value is really high. Even if at that point I had to pay so much, I'm still getting a deal. That's your deal.
Yeah.
And then just sprinkle your scarcity. Don't run like a 7 day sale
Mhm.
because that'll just kill everything.
Yeah, I mean, so even if you look at it, the larger marketplaces for that matter, no, Amazon, Flipkart. I remember days where they used to run the Freedom Week, the Republic Day sale for like 7 days, or like
Right.
now they've come down to two. It's just
Yeah,
two
yeah,
days, and it's only a
yeah.
matter of time before
S-
we could make it one.
right. One of the cool top up to that is, when you're doing these offers, put a quantity to it.
Uh,
Like, there are only 100 of these, or there are only 200 of these. I would say 100 is a better number.
mm,
And make sure, yeah, this is the part that even people who are using this strategy kind of fail to do that, including myself on a number of occasions, is make sure you sell out, and then make sure you tell people that you sold out. That means that your
when
last
you do
email, right, the last email that goes out to the your marketing list, that was about, hey, sale ending in 5 minutes, right? That's the one people sell. You do it, buy now or lose. I would say maybe an hour from that, send out an email to all of the people telling them that you sold out more than you, and obviously make it legit. It should not be fake,
it.
but you sold out before you expected, and now you're probably running low on stock. How's that? And now make sure that your coupon codes are actually expiring, because next time when you run a sale,
Exactly.
they'll jump in first.
Yeah, they're the first
And
to convert.
yeah, and next time when you if this sale was for 2 hours, make sure the other one is like for 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
you'll probably make more money than all your previous email campaigns in the last 1 year.
So, all right. So, I think we've been going a little bit over our scheduled time
Yeah.
because I'm actually enjoying this conversation. I think uh, I don't
Yeah.
I don't know. We didn't have a set time for this. We're just going on with anything and everything that
Yeah.
comes to our head. So I kind of
Yeah.
wanted to like know a little bit more about how you work with brands. So I mean, you when you take up an engagement with a brand, what does your usual protocol look like, and your areas of focus to start with, and how does the first 90 days look like, and what kind of outcomes you'll be focusing on, just to like understand the
Right.
thought process behind like how a new engagement would look like with you.
Right. Our first step is to, for a brand that has run some sort of media before, that's the first place to jump in. Look at what they've done, um, and kind of in a very granular number oriented way, where you kind of build out what's working for the brand, the products, the price points, how have the sale periods been going. And then we what we really would want to look at is that product a really good fit for the market they are trying to sell in, right? Only if it kind of fits in, the market segment is right, you're selling at the right price points, and we are more than happy to kind of share those strategies, what can be changed in the business,
Yes.
because we don't look at it as, we are calling ourselves as media buyers, or just marketing guys who are running marketing. When we audit, a lot of times we'll find that people are running a lot of media and they're getting a decent customer acquisition cost or a retention cost, but the other channels like email
Yes.
or like any other form like SMS or WhatsApp. WhatsApp is not too prevalent in US, or not used that much, but these, and then organic social, or Google search or any other search platform. You see that on a lot of parts, you're trying to push a lot of people into your brand, into your funnel, but there are lots of other places where those engagements close. It's a nurture thing. Like, people are not buying on the first day when they're seeing your ad. But if those places are not in place, you kind of think in your head that Facebook is not working or Google is not working for me because I don't see enough revenue. But the part of problem is that your product itself has either a longer or a more complex user journey, which might not end on Facebook itself on day 1 or day 7. It might end up somewhere else. Maybe they see your ad, they go to Google, look for your brand,
Mhm.
they come through your Google search if you're running Google search, or they come into your site directly.
Yeah.
So looking at the business at like a holistic level,
Mhm.
and then trying to identify the spots that are not working. I'm a big fan of, don't try to jump and fix things that are not broken. A lot of times those things are not broken.
Yeah.
So it's not just that we have to run media, so we'll obviously tell the clients to run that. We would rather tell them to fix this stuff, because this guy just needs a scale up,
Mhm.
not a fix, that we're happy to do, but it can only be done if this other part is sorted.
Mhm.
So that's the approach we are looking at. And then we kind of plan, do our research that I talked about. That research helps you build your hooks, your angles, what customer segment you're targeting, what will be your email marketing campaigns looking like, what are your creatives going to say, the copywriting, everything
Yeah.
that goes into a platform is built off that research. So we spend a lot of time doing that. And then it's kind of a little bit of test in the first 30 to 60 days.
Mhm.
If the brand is already running, that's kind of a good thing, because then we have benchmark numbers. If you on your own are, let's say, doing 50 grand a month, that's our benchmark. We know your numbers. Our goal is to accelerate that profitably. But if you've not started, then we help you kind of balance out between what you spend, what you get, come back with, hey, this is your product, this is what's working for you, these are your numbers, where do you want to go from here? Right, then it's up to the business. Do you want to acquire people even though you can't acquire them profitably? Looking at the LTV, that's a different approach. This doesn't work, do you still want to make it work? Then you have to think through it.
Yes.
But yeah, it's always about the business. It's never about, i'm I want to run Facebook ads for you, because
Mhm.
that doesn't work very well now. And just like, we don't want to go back showing our Facebook channel reports showing a very good ROAS and Google channel reports showing a very good ROAS, whereas when you look at the business, that business is losing money, right? So it's not about what's happening in the platform, but it's about the business.
I mean, that kind of hits the nail on the head, right? So you can just pick a channel and just say we are successful on that channel, but in reality, when you look at the whole picture from a bird's eye view, that is where you know if you're truly succeeding or not. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I mean, this kind of approach is what sets you apart from the people that I've also worked with in the past. I've worked with a lot of agencies, and so putting the whole big picture in the middle is something that I've always admired. Uh, so yeah, great stuff. And so there's one more thing I kind of wanted to touch upon, but I missed out. So
Hmm.
okay, this might be a biased question, or okay, I wouldn't call it a biased question, but this might be a question where I get a chance to plug about myself here. So, what is your
Uh-huh.
go-to tool stack?
Um, that's that's more like an affiliate marketing question right now to me.
Or you can just safely say that you're going to explore forward once we launch.
Absolutely. The first time I looked at the platform, like just a quick walkthrough, um, it's kind of also addressing the same parts that we talk about. That there are tons of omni-channel solutions, but what you guys are essentially also plugging in is what those platforms are not able to do or not able to understand the customer in a way that you guys can, and then either build out features or figure out workflows where you can really make that happen. And I think a large part of the success also is behind the tool. That's the team, that's you guys at Forward, where you can be those people who really understand, like if you look at the business like we just spoke, and you can give the guidance along with how people are just going to plug in their emails, just use it as any other tool. Then it's just that, it's just an email marketing tool. But I love the part where you guys are standing behind the tool, understanding what the customers really need, and then also kind of hand holding them through towards success rather than just throwing this out as a tool. So absolutely.
Okay, that turned out better than how I was playing that in my head. I thought I'll be the one talking about it, but yeah.
I learned it with yeah, um, done a few podcasts now, so yeah. And customer testimonials really work from when the other person is talking about them, so why not?
All right. So I think we've covered pretty much all things marketing, retention, and maybe a little bit about some books and stuff as well. So
Yeah,
well, I
yeah,
enjoyed the conversation. It's a little bit over an hour, but it didn't feel like that at all. So once
absolutely not.
yeah. So once again, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Vinay. Thank you for taking this time. And yeah. I just wish a really good holiday season for all the brands that are working with you, because I know for a fact that they're going to have a field day because you have some really good stuff planned out for them. And yeah, best of luck for the holiday season, and I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, thank you for having me, and it was absolutely amazing having this conversation. Would love to be back.
All right, we'll have you soon, back soon, and yeah, take care. Bye bye.
Cool, cool. Bye.